Welcome back to another Shoulda Boosted. We're on to episode number 31. I'm Brian, also known as Malorian. With me is my co-host, Mark. Mark, how's it going?
It's going all right, man. It's going all right.
We also have with us our other, basically, co-host, getting pretty close. Like just on the verge, we got the community killer, Ian. Ian, how are you doing?
Pretty good so far. Can't complain. I'm looking forward to talking about Legion tonight.
Yeah, I'm trying to get my words in now because I know as soon as I post this over to Mark, he's just going to be able to go on fire because he's been waiting this for sure. So what we're going to be doing is we're going to be going through the CID. We're going to be looking at all the new things. We're basically now on the third week. We went through a couple different versions of this already. I know Mark's been going and doing some playing with them already. And even though he hasn't played with the latest because it just came out today, we should have some insight on there. So with that, let's just send it over to you, Mark. What's going to be the first thing we're talking about?
Well, let's keep it simple. First thing we can talk about with this new fancy hot Blightness. We'll just go off of the lovely PDF that they've put out, and we can talk about one of the more interesting but definitely least utilized lights, I think, is the Nephilim Protector. So this guy hasn't really changed very much. It's kind of good in where he is now. His role hasn't really altered from what it was, but the only thing that's changed is his Animus. Now it is a Safeguard Animus, so basically the caster isn't able to become knocked down or stationary and isn't able to suffer collateral damage, which doesn't come up in a lot of things as far as the second half. But the no knockdown and stationary is pretty huge, considering the only time you take this little guy is with super high defense casters, like the Twins, or I guess now Krissa could be considered one of them.
Now, wasn't that the Animus in Mark II? Did that change?
It did. It is definitely back to more so what it was in Mark II. So that's kind of cool right there.
Perfect.
So is this guy worth 9 points for, I mean, realistically, you're paying 9 points for his Shield Guard and his Animus.
Not necessarily. You're also missing Guard Dog.
Guard Dog's good, but I mean, I've played Ret, and I don't think I've ever taken that caster attachment.
Sure. But when you have, like, specifically, I prefer him in things like the Twins, like I'm saying, where you have casters that are already at def 16, then you're putting up to 18. And then if you want to get super cute, you put something like Starcrossed in that package. It's a little expensive, but going up to def 18 with Starcrossed, pretty good.
Pretty good.
Yeah, I could see this maybe falling to 8 points, but it's not the worst. I mean, I can't believe they actually left because I was trying to think of what I used to because my first faction was Legion, and I'd use this guy for, like you just saying, what it'd be now on a high defense caster. So it's actually kind of insane that they would have taken that Animus away. So I'm glad it's back.
Yeah, it's definitely something that Legion needed. They needed some kind of no knockdown tech because that was one of the easiest ways to kill half of the Legion casters back in the day, right? Was slam something into them, knock them down, boom, they're dead.
So maybe we'll just do this with each of these options too. Mark, since you're the resident expert on this, do you feel this is where it should be? Is it under where it should be or above where it should be?
Like Ian said, I do think it is a little expensive, 9 points. Other than his defensive abilities, he's not really doing anything. So I think it could be toned down a little bit as far as point cost.
Okay, so he's probably a little bit under of where he should be.
Yeah.
All right, well, who do we got next?
Up next, we have the little leapy kitty cat, whatever you want to call them, the Rakes. So they've changed a little bit here throughout the CID weeks, so that's kind of good. One of the biggest points that's changed with them is they've actually dropped down in cost. So before they were 8 points, and now they've gone down all the way to 6 points, which is a pretty big drop.
Big drop. This is 25% drop.
Yeah, exactly. They weren't seeing a lot of use before, so now I think going down to 6 points, you're going to see them all over the place. They do a lot of work for a cheap light, especially with extended control range.
It's a Gorehound.
Basically, it's.
I don't know Legion all that well, so I'm kind of like looking and discovering this as we go along. So it's like he's a Gorehound, but he's the Gorehound. But it's actually the Gorehound's a rake.
Yeah, I guess you consider it that way. But the Gorehound still gets his 2-inch reach.
Bounding Leap is amazing, though.
Bounding Leap is really good. Like I said, you can reach so far with these little guys. The one thing that I really like with them is their animus. Basically, giving countercharge to a light is awesome, but then when you consider casters like Rias or Thagrush 2 that actually have that big beat stick capability, a one-cost countercharge is pretty legit.
I mean, you know, things that don't actually want to countercharge, even like a spell type caster that all of a sudden does a countercharge just to get closer for a different threat, or maybe your opponent's setting up an assassination, so on an early activation you countercharge more out of the way to take it off the table, right? Like there's a lot of tactical use, but I mean, it's just good for them to have cheap throwaway options where you can be like, hey, Leafy Kitty Cat, run into those lines and keep them away from my important stuff.
Well, that's exactly it. And now with things like the Blight Archon, who can actually run other models like that, that's pretty big.
So is he Kitty Cat or is he a Hound? Because I'm just like picturing the Blight Archon with 2 of these things on leashes.
Right.
Just like pulling it across the table.
Yeah, that's pretty much. I don't know. It's a weird doggy kitty cat. Who knows?
So, Mark, what do you figure? Where it should be? Is it too low, too good?
I think the rake is beautiful just how they have it. Obviously, my opinion is going to be a little skewed, but I think it's pretty good.
I like it too.
For 6 points, it looks pretty good. Like it looks a little bit above good. Threshold 9, Def 15, Arm 14, Speed 7. So you're threading
13.
13. That's pretty solid.
Yeah, they're definitely. I think they're right on the mark with that. They need something that's cheap like that, that's still actually fairly good. I don't think many of the other lights they have right now are anywhere comparable. So, maybe we're a little spoiled with this one.
All right, what do we got next?
Next is a War Beast that I can pretty much guarantee that you've never seen on the table if you're an average War Machine player.
So I played for 2.5 years. It'll be 3 years in September, and I've never heard of it.
There's something that were a thing back in Mark II, particularly played with Lilith 2, and this would be the Tariff. They're a little interesting. So they are basically a little gun turret, was what they're meant to do. Again, they haven't changed too much in this whole CID process. One good thing they have is their range 12 gun that's a 4-inch AoE, which went up from a 3-inch AoE in the last, what are they called?
Iteration.
There's the word. Big words are hard. So the AoE did increase by 1, which is nice. But the thing that changed on them most recently is this flaming AoE basically leaves a Scather on the ground now, but it's a fire Scather. Yeah. One of the things you have to watch out, though, it's a little tricky because the hazard, it does indicate that when it hits an enemy model, it hits there, but your still friendly models will still get damaged if they're entering or ending in this because it is a hazard, right?
So does he still have the Animus that has like the counter fire ability?
Yeah. Counterblast, that's the big thing. It still does. So, like I said, with Lilith 2, which, again, she still loves this Animus, if you walk into its command range, which unfortunately for this little guy is only a 7, but with certain other casters like Lilith or even Veil, in all honesty, because then you can use her wonderful ability to turn everything dark nodes. I think it's definitely it's interesting. I don't think it's going to see a lot of play even now, but at where is it here? It's 10 points. It's kind of a big ask for something that you're probably not going to see.
10 points now? Ooh.
Yeah.
I could see this guy getting play, actually.
For 10 points?
For 10 points, I could see one just holding part of his own. Like if you have Crucible Guard like showing up in your meta quite a bit, you don't want to fly your Rocketmen into that. You don't want to run your transmuted halberdiers or infantry through that. They'll die.
Right, but the thing you're missing there, Ian, on this burning ground ability, if you take a look at it, models without flight entering or ending take the power 12. So if you're flying, you don't care.
So it's going to be mostly aimed toward stuff like sentinels and ground-based weapon masters, things like that.
Yeah, stuff like that I could see it being useful for, but I think at 10 points it's a little too expensive.
Well, it seems like to really get the most of it, you probably want multiples, right? Because if you want to do this whole hazard game, you probably want 2 or maybe even 3 of them so you can actually get a good coverage for that. And it's just pretty pricey. Like, I know in Mark II, they were mainly fighting for a spot with the rake as the forward position to be a harasser. And now, especially with the rake going down to 6 points, this will be a tough sell unless you're really working for that animus somewhere else.
Yeah, I really don't see it.
Yeah, I'm with you guys.
Yeah.
So we're all agreed this one's on the low side?
Definitely undercosted or overcosted.
I'll probably never see that word ever again in my life. So
yeah, maybe not. There's always Mark IV.
Yeah, I still think he's probably in that same gray area as the Nephilim Protector. Still needs a little bit of loving.
All right, what do we got next?
Next, we have probably one of the more controversial pieces that have come up through the CID. The Flying Legion Danger Scalpel, the Angelus. So one of the big things they've done with this guy is his amazing power 14 armor-piercing tail. They've basically added a caveat on it, kind of like the dongulator there, Ian, for your conversions.
What's
the thing
100%. Yeah.
What's the inverter? Inverter, yes. There you go. So once you make an armor-piercing tail attack, you can't do anything with that weapon again for the whole round. So it kind of locks it down. You're going to come in with this big shot and then hopefully do enough damage to not get destroyed. This week they did add sidestep to it as well, which is kind of nice. Let you back up a little bit with comboing that with his repulsion animus. Not too shabby. Not too shabby. The other thing they did with him is his bite attack actually went up from a 1-inch reach to a 2-inch. So that's kind of not too bad either.
Yeah, I think that's the big thing, because when I was at the last stage, on the week 2, there were some weird shenanigans with, one attack that's a one-time thing, be a 2-inch, and then the bite's 1-inch. Now that's all 2-inch, I think it really makes sense. And I don't know what your thoughts are, Mark, but I think this is a great change for the Angelius.
It definitely is. I think, again, the biggest change for him that I haven't mentioned so far was that the first week of the CID was him going down to 15 points.
Which is down 2 points. I think this guy might be probably one of the most improved model. Like, as an existing legacy model, this might be one of the most improved models I think I've seen in a CID.
I think he's definitely up there.
2-point drop, and that losing star attack and gaining single shot is massive. That's huge. That puts in so many assassination potential, especially with tags. Let's be real here. Yeah,
it definitely does.
Good. Yep.
Yeah, it's definitely one of the better ones they've done. Yeah.
So, again, same question. Is this one where it should be too powerful, not powerful enough?
Again, I think they've done a pretty good job with the Angelus. You haven't seen it much up until now. I still don't think it's going to see a lot of play, but it'll definitely see more than it has previously, because, let's be honest, when's the last time you saw an Angelus on the table?
Mark II, all the time in Mark II.
In Mark II, exactly, right?
You should probably refer that to how many times have you seen Legion players in the last 6 months? I honestly think that this model, you could see 2 or 3 of them in a list if you're building it properly, because it's still a 4 Fury model.
Yeah, you'll definitely see them run in pairs.
And I don't know what the math is on it, but I think the armor piercing shot outweighs the damage in comparison to, say, like 2 POW 18s or a POW 18 and a POW 15 or something like that.
Yeah, I think it's pretty damn close, to be honest.
What I like about it is it's going to be kind of like an Archon killer, for sure, where it can go in there and just be like, haha, I might not be able to get that armor pierce over and over against like a Colossal, but that one shot to be able to take out an Archon, and anything that can be counteracting the Archon meta, I'm all thumbs up for.
Aren't you the guy that plays like 6 Archons in a list?
I know I'm part of the problem.
He used to until they all died.
Well, fair enough.
Yeah. That's why we have Death Archons now. But Mark, what's coming up next?
Next is the big beat stick of the Legion heavy war beasts, and that's the Carnivian. So this guy's, I don't know, I've never been a big fan of him. I've always personally used him for his Animus more than anything, and that was Spiny Growth. So he has got a point decrease, which is nice. So now he's down to 17 points. But again, that wasn't this week. That was previously. Pretty much the only thing that's changed for this last week here is that he's gained a +1 defense. So now they're up to a 12 instead of that awkward 11 middle gray area. One thing that is super good on this guy here is they've given him the chain attack grab and smash on his weapons. So I think that's going to be pretty nice. Most people like him for his, oddly enough, his spray attack over his melee capability. But I think that's kind of the wrong way to go with that. I know a lot of people like him with Lilith 1.
Well, when I played him, I liked the flexibility, the fact that I could stay back and spray somewhere weird or, you know, a combination, whatever I needed in that game. But you are paying the points for that flexibility for sure.
Yeah, he's kind of one of those in-between beat stick ranged and melee war beasts. So I think they kind of need to point him in a specific direction to have him be an A listing for a war beast. So I think he's kind of awkwardly sitting in that middle spot.
Yeah, we'll see. So what do we feel about this one? Is he about right, too good, not good enough?
I don't know. I'm still kind of torn on him, to be honest. I think he's kind of in that not good enough category still. What do you think there, Ian?
I kind of had a conversation with Brian earlier today about the Carnivian, and he's not a 17-point heavy. Like, by no means is he a 17-point heavy. Mm-hmm. I think, and again, I'm probably biased because I read into the CID forums a little bit. I'd be like, speed 6, def 11, get rid of grab and smash, drop him down to 15 points, and I think you will see doubles and triples of him. Yeah, I think that would be fully appropriate. I mean, even if you drop the Dragon's Breath down to POW 12 or POW 13, give him that point drop. Like, Arm 18, def 12 is not a survivable stat line.
No. Well, that's why they're assuming you're going to be armor 20, right? Because of Spiny Growth. But still.
True.
It's not worth it.
It's not. I think speed 6 and drop the grab and smash and just let him do what he's supposed to be good at. Being an all-rounder.
Yeah, I think if they did that and reverted it back to how it was previously, because they were speed 6 before.
Yeah, I heard that. And like, again, I'm not a Mark 1 or 2 player. I'm only Mark 3, so I look at them and I'm like, 15 points feels better for this guy.
In all honesty, if they dropped grab and smash, put the speed back to 6, and put him down to even 16 points, I think that'd be okay.
I mean, where I compare him is, say, like to the Stormclad, because the Stormclad is kind of like the Signar combined one, and that's 17 points. And I mean, that one's defense 12, armor 18. You know, we had the strength 19 sword with reach, but for the Carnivian, you have multiple attacks, more possible attacks. So I don't know. I kind of feel it might be in the right spot, but I do totally agree with like what Ian was saying, that they'd be better off stripping off these situational rules to just make things more budget, because that's the worst thing is seeing how expensive these things are. And I mean, if you're going to have this be an elite beast, we're not the Scythian yet, but then at least make the Scythian the cheap version or something.
Yeah, exactly. But in direct comparison, for 17 points, are you going to take this slightly durable combined arms beater? Or for a 2-point drop, are you going to take the flying scalpel of an Angelus, who still has a gun, keep in mind?
That's also true.
Yeah, and Animus that's 10 times better, in my opinion.
Yeah, I agree. That's the Carnivian isn't there. No. I agree with you guys.
All right, what do we got next?
Next, we have the odd unit that I'm not a big fan of personally. That's the Blighted Archers. Previously, I don't think I've ever put them on the table. Like, I own 2 units of them, but they've just been absolute trash up until now. So with this week in the CID, they haven't really changed anything. The big things that they've got isn't so much on the archers themselves. They did get Repo 3, which is not too bad. But the biggest changes came with the ammo porter. So with them, the UA here basically gives them a double tap ability, which, you know, for 12 models in a unit, they're firing 22 times. It's pretty good with combined range attack.
Okay, so in Mark II, if they aim, they got 2 shots if they had that UA. But now with the UA, it's just like a once per game mini feat?
Yeah, that's exactly the change here. Supposedly, people are using them a lot with Bethane 2, just to put dissolve on them.
Sure.
But I haven't really tested anything with Bethane 1, though.
It's not a once per game. They always get RF rate of fire 2 on their attacks.
Oh, always. Okay, yeah.
I like this unit quite a bit. I've never seen him before, but I mean, if you're dropping 2 POW 20s up to something with combined arms, that's really neat.
What's the points there? What's the points for a full unit in UA?
13 points for the unit, and for the UA is 5, probably free.
Yeah, you can put them for free for sure.
So we're talking like long gunner type costs. So,
except they have practice maneuvers as well. So, and they have arcing fire. Arcing fire is a really it's a super underrated ability. I think.
Do they still have necessarily like covering fire ability?
No, they lost that.
Okay, good, because it never happened. I think I'm the only one I ever saw put them on the table.
Probably.
So, okay, where are we seeing these then? Like, do you think these guys are about right? Do you think they're crazy, not good enough?
I think they're in that category of you've never seen them before because they were trash, and now they're pretty good. So I think they're definitely going to see a lot of play. Whether they're too good, I don't think so. I think they got what they needed.
Ian?
Lilith 2 gives an additional ranged attack, right?
Yes.
So you could potentially get 3 combined arms POW 20s out of this unit.
I don't know if you can combine on that though.
Okay.
Maybe.
I mean,
if that works that way, then yes, in theory you could.
If you can. If it doesn't work that way, that's 30 shots out of a unit. 33 shots out of a unit.
Mm-hmm. That's true.
It really doesn't matter what you're shooting at, even if you're just plinking 1 damage off. That's a heavy from not getting touched. And that's an 18-inch threat.
Mm-hmm.
So as a comparison, that's Haley 1 with long gunners, which you never, ever see.
Right.
True enough.
I mean, the big difference, though, is that the long gunners still need to aim to get those 2 shots, where these archers can be, like, going through forest, moving whatever you want. So that flexibility is really nice to have.
They also repo 3, so that's something to take into effect as well.
Yeah, the repo 3, like I said, is pretty nice.
You know, I think it'll be interesting to see. I think they're about right. They're definitely better than they were before, but they don't seem underpowered, and they don't seem overly crazy. I mean, I still feel, though, that they probably won't show up on the table in a world of hermits and shield guards, but that's more the meta's fault, not their rules' fault.
Yeah, exactly.
I see them showing up. I could see a unit, at least one unit, if you're doing like a NIS army, showing up and softening up targets.
In all the lists I've made so far, I haven't even looked at them. So
soon. All right, what do we got next, Mark?
Next is definitely an odd unit that, again, you've probably never seen on the table. Well, Ian, for sure. That's the Blightedness Legionnaires. They got a lot of 11 in this CID, and I think that's fantastic. By design, they were supposed to be this defensive, super cheap kind of spam option, if you will, but with a higher armor in comparison to your Blightedness Swordsman. They were supposed to be able to take the hits and keep on plugging, as opposed to dealing the damage which the swordsmen do, because they're fairly squishy. So with this CID, they've given the Legionnaires battle driven, so it's +2 armor Pathfinder and +2 strength when they're damaged, and then vengeance is another big thing.
How many points for this unit?
Sorry, what was that?
How many points for the unit now? The max unit?
13.
13 for max.
Yeah.
I still don't like it. I don't think they're going the right way with them.
Why?
So to me, it's exactly what you're saying. Like when I use these guys in Mark II, they were the cheap guys to get in your face, just the cheap unit, really. And now they're still trying to put in rules in there to make them more dangerous. But like you said, that's what the swordsmen are supposed to do and not them. So I would rather, again, like we were saying with the other models, strip away those things, give us the cheap infantry that can be in the front there, and give me something that's like 12 points, 11 points. It doesn't need vengeance. It doesn't need these other things. I just need cheap bodies to protect my slow heavies.
Yeah, I don't think the vengeance is definitely necessary. With the battle driven, I don't think it's more so of giving him the offensive output as it is the Pathfinder and the armor. So that's one thing you've got to take in consideration.
What kind of UAs can you put on them? Out of curiosity, like what kind of force multiplication can you throw on them?
There's only one, and he's definitely always been one of my favorites for the Legion character UAs, and that's Captain Fairlore and his Santa Bear. So he gained an ability in the CID called Hold the Ranks, which is kind of cool. So it gives them defensive line. So again, another obviously defensive buff. So it gives you +2 defense, and you can't be knocked down while you're base to base. So it puts them at a def 14, armor 17. Not bad, not bad.
That's respectable.
Yeah.
Well, no, they would be armor 19 with battle driven.
Yes, with battle driven, they would be armor 19.
Which makes them a little bit harder to shift, especially from if anybody decides to be like, oh, I'm going to take a pot shot at him, be like, oh no.
Yeah, in that respect, if we're not talking completely sandbox, yes, they'll be armor 19, and more than likely you've got some sort of armor buff going with them, whether that be the Blarcon or the Blightbringer itself. So potential armor 21, 23, not too bad.
You guys seem to like them, but to me, they're kind of designed for a meta of like POW 10 guns, which doesn't exist. If they were instead, again, like the cheap 11-point unit, none of this fancy stuff, the mini feat on Farlore is like 4+ tough for a round, like something like that to be, again, just to be that tar pit. It seems to me that's what the role's supposed to be. But again, that's me putting my own view on this unit.
Fair enough. With the Mk3 CID, the Legionnaires themselves didn't change. But the UA did. They dropped the point reduction, or they gave it a point reduction. So now he's only 4 points. So you don't have to really burn that rec card. So that's not too bad.
So obviously I don't like them, but where do you guys feel these guys sit now?
Again, like the Archers and the Raic, where you didn't really see them very often, I think they got the loving they needed. But I think they're kind of in that middle ground where, yeah, they're okay. They're not great, but they're okay.
Ian?
They look like something that's going to be niche. They look like they'll probably be in some weird builds that I'm sure that they'll get used for a very specific reason. But overall, in a general feeling, for 13 points plus for 17 points essentially with the UA, I don't know if they're worth it. I think they're around that midline to maybe right below median.
Yeah,
right. What do we got next?
Bad. Up next, we have the complete counter of this argument. The Blightedness Swordsman, which I think got something they needed, and definitely you're going to see all over the damn place as far as Legion players are going. So the only thing that the Swordsman really got as a change for them is on the back of their card, they had absolutely nothing previously. So now they got Blade Shield. So it's +2 defense against range attacks. So that puts them up to def 16 against range attacks. So it's not too bad.
That's real good. I have infantry that runs with Blade Shield, and it's pretty clutch.
Angels run Blade Shield?
Angels run Blade Shield.
But the biggest changes came, again, with the UA for them, with the Champion and the Abbot. So what they did with those guys there is they, instead of giving them like a mini feat or anything like that, they ended up giving them prayers, kind of like battle plans. So I think that's kind of cool. You can either give them cleave, which they had before from the UA. It was just an auto thing. But now you have to choose it. Or they can get magical weapons. Or the other one is relentless charge. I think the relentless charge is kind of a redundancy, personally. Pathfinders, I think they definitely need it. But with the casters you're going to be playing them with, I think it's going to be overkill. The Champion...
do they reach 1 or 2?
They're only reach 1, which is kind of poopy. But I think if you put them to reach 2, they'd be too good.
Yeah, these have, swords that are bigger than they are, but I know it makes sense for them to not have that reach just from a game function side of things.
Yeah, like if they were at reach 2, like they'd hand over fist be one of the best units in the game, in my opinion.
And so what's the point for the unit in UA now?
So the UA is 6 points still. and the unit themselves for full units 15. So it's 21 points for the full unit. But
UA is probably going to take as your free because it's in that 6-point range.
Exactly. So, and the UA, you'll always want the UA with them, especially with these changes and the prayers. Giving them magical weapons, I think, is pretty big for the swordsman. Losing the cleave is like having to choose, but the champion alone, having defensive strike on him and countercharge, it's pretty good.
Yeah, I like that flexibility. So it seems to me like they got these guys right, and I'm interested to see how popular they're going to be. So I think it's just about right. But Ian, what do you think?
So when I looked at the Blight in the Swordsman page, I was like, oh, this is a really blank page. I'm like, I really hope that you can put Pathfinder on them. Then I look over and I open up the second page. I'm like, oh, this is awesome. So the biggest thing that stands out for me is, one, they can get Relentless Charge. So cool. They're paper. They'll fall over. They're going to die. But the real thing that catches my eye a lot is using Song of Blades to gain cleave. If you get an open charge lane, you charge in, you hit, you're going to kill. If it's infantry or medium infantry, you're going to kill. Then you overtake, and then you get with your second attack on cleave, because on the timing, cleave is immediately after the attack is resolved, and so is overtake. So you kill one, you overtake forward, you hit something in the back line, and you kind of blender forward a little bit nicely.
Well, you're only getting the one additional attack on cleave, right?
Yeah, but you charge in, you do your charge attack, you kill, you overtake forward, you cleave, you kill, then you can advance up again.
Yeah, no, for sure. That's 100%.
So correct. It kind of helps you blender up a little bit if you don't need the Relentless Charge, and you can get just the base threat out. Mm-hmm. I like them. I think I think we'll definitely see the Blightedness Swordsman in the UAs.
Oh, for sure. Perfect.
Yeah. So it seems we all like it. So Mark, what's the next one?
So the next one is the Bloodedness Hex Hunters. For them, the changes weren't super significant. They lost Prowl and gave them Stealth, which is honestly, it's a big buff. But I don't.
That's what they had in Mark II.
Yeah, they went back to Mark II when everything was great. They didn't really get a lot of love. So, other than that, in all honesty, I don't think it's something that we're going to see a lot. They're, again, a very niche unit. In my opinion, they're in that kind of middle ground again of, they're okay, but they're not something I'm too excited over.
How about that in combination with Bethane's feat changing back to magic attacks being all boosted? Because that's what I used them for in Mark II the most. It was with Bethane.
Yeah, with Bethane 1's feat being changed to magical attacks just for friendly models. I think that'll be a big synergy with them. But that's probably one of the only places you'll see them, maybe potentially with Krissa. But with the changes for her now, probably not.
It'd been funny if that's how the CID went. If the CID just said, go back to Mark II rules, but these will be the new points.
Right. That's kind of what they're doing. If you're looking at a lot of side-by-side comparisons, to be honest.
And what's the unit cost now for max?
For the max unit for the Hex Hunters, it's still 15 points. And Baal is 5 points. Again, he's another one you'll probably be taking for free.
Yeah.
He didn't really change much either. So, again, not too excited, but they're not bad. They're kind of in that, they're okay level.
I'm sure it's one of those things where they're only going to be taken with Bethane, and that's probably it. But what do you think, Ian?
I see one thing that they could change one. Actually, they could change 3 letters, and it would fix them entirely. I know this is going to sound really weird, but why Hexbolt instead of Hex Blast?
That's a good question.
Hex Blast is range 10, or range 8 or range 10. It's a 3-inch AoE. It's power 13. Their only magic ability is 6. Yeah, that's range 10. Mm-hmm. If they made it Hex Blast, this unit would be taken.
They're still battle wizards, though, right?
What's that?
Sorry?
Are they still battle wizards?
Yeah, they are.
That's a lot of damage. I think that's going a little bit too far.
Yeah, but I mean, it's POW 7 blasts, and it'll be. I mean, even if you took Hexbolt and you gave him if you gave him Spiritual Conduit, and make them range 10 or range 8 or range 10, it'd be so good. They would be really, really good. They wouldn't be overpowered. I think you
remember this will be with Bethane, so this is boosted to hit, boosted damage, right?
True.
Yeah, but they're not doing anything if they can't get within range of it anyways. So
no, they're in this weird situation where they're going to be just killing infantry again, kind of like what your blender idea for the swordsman were.
Yeah, if they had this really cool, like if they actually were useful on the approach and had a 10-inch hex bolt, that would be really neat. I think it's a missed opportunity. They could have done something great with them.
Yeah, I think that'd be a little over the top, though.
You think range 10, like not hex blast, but range 10 is over the top? That's a 16-inch POW 13 magic attack. And with a feat, it's only happening once.
It's not 16-inch, though, if you're considering the battle wizard. It's 19-inch, right?
You have to still, in order to cast that, you still have to successfully charge.
Yeah. So you're speed 6, you charge in. That's a 9-inch movement, 9.5, including your melee. So then it's a 19.5-inch threat off that if you're putting that to a 10-inch.
It's playable. I think it's playable.
What if you went a different way? Give it purgatation. Yeah. So you're saying, hey, all that upkeep and spells out there, this unit's going to get boosted, and then if it's Bethane's feat, even like an additional die.
Brian, if they gave them that would be ridiculous.
Sorry, what if they gave them what?
Purgatation, the one where if you're making an attack against something that has an upkeep on it, you get boosted hit and boost damage.
Oh, purgation.
Sorry.
Yeah,
well, it's an additional die. It's not boosted, right?
Yeah, it's not boosted. It's just an additional die. That would be really cool too. Like, I think that they're missing one rule for their points cost. I think all three of us can agree is that they're missing one thing to give them an identity, because right now they're dying to blast templates.
Yes.
Their threat is abysmal. And in order to really gain the benefit of Bethane's feat or whatever feat that you're going to be doing on it, they still have to get up there. 12-inch threat with a spell isn't that good.
I think the big thing is what you said is identity, because they used to be the magic unit, but now you have swordsmen that can get magical attacks. So that's not even clutch anymore.
Yeah, exactly.
All right. So I think we're all saying that they're under.
Yeah.
Definitely under.
Unfortunately, yeah. This looks like a super fun unit to play, but it would be super fun if they just put one piece of identity into it.
All right, Mark, what do we got next?
So the next one up is the one that I haven't been too excited about. I think it's definitely a super good change, but not a caster I've always been a big fan of, and that's Bethane 1, who we were just talking about, ironically enough. So her spell list has changed quite a bit. So she's got Deceleration now. So +2 armor against range of magic attacks in her control. So it's a good change for sure. But the biggest change for her is her feat. Like we were saying a second ago there, any magical attacks or damage rolls that are made in her control area, made by friendly models, are boosted. So it's pretty big when you're considering things like Hex Hunters or the Blight Archon and such, as far as that goes.
Can you name another unit that's going to benefit from her feat? Because you've only named 2.
True, but the big thing that people are excited about with them is the Thrones of Everblight. Those things are going to murder the crap out of any sort of single wound or even 5 to 8 box units with Bethane 1.
They have Battle Wizard, right? So they can, when they kill something, they can cast a spell. Oh, okay, and they have 4 initials, right?
4 initials and 4-inch reach.
And 4 sprays, to put that into perspective. All right, I'm seeing it now.
Yeah, the kind of sad part is that they did change, like I said, it's friendly models instead of just friendly faction. So there's things that's going to encourage people to play less of the minion stuff and more of the actual Legion stuff. So your Bogtrog Misspeakers, your Eilish, I guess even the Cauldron, if you ever want to use them, can all benefit from it. But I think there's better options, like we're saying the Hex Hunters. But I think the Throne is kind of the go-to for her.
The Throne's the winner there. Yeah, the Throne, because what's the POW on the Throne spray?
I think it's just power 12 on the Throne sprays.
Power 12 boosted is still killing stuff.
It ain't the worst. But they have another one other than the spray. I think might have been actually Hex Blast. I'm just looking it up right now here. But yeah, I think the spray is going to be the big one, because you've got a power 16 on your melee attack that you're probably going to want to go in and soften up a lot of the heavier targets with. But then that spray is going to be what's killing most of the just kind of random infantry that's kicking around.
Yeah, back in the day, that'd be your Hellion and Sorceress that'd go in there, spray away the stuff, and then your Hex Hunters would go up there and try and blast off the heavies.
Mm-hmm. The other thing, Ian, it is a power 12 range 8 frostbite spray, but the unique spell to them that I've always been a big fan of is that Spine Burst spell. I don't know if you've ever seen it.
That's the one that hits D3 models or something like that, right?
Yeah, range 10, power 10, hits D3 within 5, and it's not considered to be by an attack.
Ooh, so actually, it's a AoE magic bullet. That you're speaking the language.
Mm-hmm. But then I don't think her feat would affect that, because her feat says boosted magic attack and magic damage rolls.
And it's not done by a model? Yeah, I think it might be. I think it still would be applied. It doesn't say made by an attack.
Well, it says
the rolls itself.
No, because it says magic attack damage rolls.
And magic attack damage rolls.
Yeah, so I don't know if it would.
Maybe we might have to get somebody to get a clarification on that. If it does, that's real good.
Yeah,
because that medium infantry should be a little more worried about that.
Mm-hmm. So there's probably lots to unpack here, but we got to keep moving. So, Mark, in general, where do you feel that she's fallen?
I think Bethane's definitely going to the top of the list as far as things that have changed and that people are going to be really happy with.
But is it about where it's supposed to be, or should it be stronger? Is it too weak?
I don't think they've actually made anything in this Legion CID too good. I think all the changes that they've made are definitely ones that have needed to happen over the past, 5-10 years, in all honesty.
I just want to touch on one more thing. One more thing, Bloodthorn. That was only melee weapons, right? Now it's ranged and melee weapons.
No, it's always been both.
It's always been both? Plus 2 power? That's pretty good. That's pretty good for some of the stuff that's coming out, right?
The plus 2 power is new, though.
Okay. Yeah, plus 2 power on, say, the archers go up to power 12 or any sprays or stuff like that, and continuous effect. That's pretty neat. I like that.
Yeah, the plus 2 power, I'm pretty sure is a new. Yeah, because before it was just they gain ranged and melee weapons gain continuous corrosion. So yeah, that's definitely a big part of it. I missed that, to be honest.
All right, Mark, what do we got next?
Next, we'd have our character beast Belphegor, but we kind of went over that. The bond changed, which is kind of nice with him. So now she can channel through him once per turn, and it gets a reduced cost by 1. So kind of like Sevi and Blessing of Vengeance. But other than that, he's stayed the same.
He has Blood Boon. Is that new?
He always had Blood Boon. I could be wrong.
Oh, that's
I think I played him like twice. No, Blood Boon is new.
Okay.
So that's pretty good.
That's a free disintegration.
But they're still, you take them together, right? You don't have an option of taking Belphegor. Isn't it just an automatic with Bethane?
Yeah, it's an automatic include. It has to be taken with her.
Yeah. All right, so all part of the package. So what's the next thing?
Next thing is the character Raptor solo, Anissa Rival. She's pretty good. She's always been pretty good, but she's always been in that little kind of corner case. You only want to take her with X, Y, and Z warlocks. So, The only big change with her lately is she never used to have a melee weapon. So if you engaged her, she was kind of hooped. So now she has, like all the other Raptors, she has her Power 10 Weapon Master Claymore. Other than that, she always has done what she always has done. I don't think this change is going to be pretty big. I think it's kind of a meh thing.
Probably too much for her to compete with at her points, right?
Pretty much, yeah, because she is a little expensive. She's sitting at 7 points. So she shoots. She does that really well. She gets a veteran leader for the Raptors, but again, she's always had that. So the change, I think, is so minor that she's kind of, she's good, but she's nothing to be excited about. I think she's right where she needs to be.
But if you're not going to be taking her, then she's not where she needs to be, right? Does she need to be a free option in some of the lists? Does she need something else to make her viable? Like, do you actually think anyone's going to be taking her now?
If you're running the Raptors list, yeah, you'll definitely see her. she's a solid solo. But again, just because of the meta, like for us, I don't think we'll see her. She does have 2 shots. They're range 12, like your Raptors normally are. It's power 10 with poison, so they're good. She can pray. Power 12 weapon master, basically. It's good.
Ian, what do you think?
She seems like a nice force multiplier for Raptors. It seems like if you take Raptors, you take her.
All right, fair enough. Okay, so she's about where she's supposed to be, more so just fixed with a sword. What do we got next, Mark?
Up next, we have one of my definitely more enthusiastic war beasts. Not a very big change to him. It's Proteus. He's always been a bit of a beefy boy for me. I like running him with Abby 2 as his character, our Warlock, obviously. The only change for him is because he's on that Carnivian chassis, his defense went up to 12. So not too big. Again, it's another thing that he's never been overcosted as far as I'm concerned. He's 18 points, but he does a lot of work. So I think he's perfectly fine where he is. The +1 def is awesome. But again, the same arguments apply. If we lost that +1 def and got that 1 speed back, I think it'd be a lot better.
I mean, I always just think about Abby 2 and how far he threats, and I always figure he threats far enough as it is, but yeah.
Well, you're not wrong in that situation. One of the bigger things that did change with him, not necessarily in this week, but previously, is that his melee weapons went to power 17. So they did get a +1 boost in the first couple weeks here. So that's really nice.
Especially for those like elite character beasts, you want them to be not pillow-fisted, right?
Yeah, because that was one of Proteus' biggest problems back in the day. That, yeah, he's this big character, scary boy, but he's only a power 16. So,
okay, so about where he should be. Is that what you're saying too, Mark?
Yeah, he definitely got a little bit 11, and it put him pretty much on par where he should be.
How about you, Ian? Any thoughts?
Do you think 18 points is viable for him?
Yeah, I don't see that being a problem. I've
never seen him on the board.
Dude, I've played him against you.
Must have killed him too fast then.
No, you'll see him every game with Abby too, in all honesty.
Okay. Neat. All right. Yeah, he seems good. I really like to pull the chain strike and pull to get those talons sunk in.
Oh yeah, he's killed me a few casters with his little tentacles.
Yeah, I'm right here.
Yeah.
What's next, Mark?
Next is the Legionary UA, Captain Fairlore. We already went over him. Kind of lackluster overall. I think we all kind of agreed there. But the next big one is one of my favorite models and arguably one of the nicest models in the game, and that's the Archangel.
Flat out the nicest model in the game. Probably. Right? This is the A+ of Privateer Press sculpting, in my opinion.
100% agreed.
Is it really better than Magnus 1?
It's close. The changes to the Archangel over this past couple weeks are phenomenal. I don't think there's, in all honesty, a single person that can complain that it didn't need anything or that it's too good now.
So what again?
So this week it didn't get anything new, which is unfortunate. But over the past couple weeks, it has got an increase in its bite power. It went from a 19 up to a 21, which is pretty good. It's kind of
that's a big change.
Yeah, well, it was super pillow fisted before. It had 2 power 17 claws and a power 19 bite. So okay, it's just another overcosted heavy at that point. But the other thing with its gun, it lost the kind of the random stupid ability that it had, which was a D3 shot previously, D3 +1, and now it just has a flat rate of fire 3-inch AoE gun.
That's so much better.
100% better. It also has Deceptively Mobile, so it does have that ability for the 3-inch repo. It did have that before, but I think that it's going to be a lot more viable now with a lot of things. Now that it's a gun platform as it should have been in the past, but now if things are getting in close, it's going to eat you.
Can you get dual attack on this thing? Can you put dual attack on this thing? That's the question I have.
Buddy, if there was a way. No, unfortunately not.
Okay. Okay. For anybody listening, I am completely ignorant to Legion other than Primal Terrors. So I have to ask these questions to be like, oh my god, this would be so good,
right?
Yeah, when I first started hearing about the changes to the Archangel, this was the one where I was like, ooh, this might now be too good. However, I think we have to all keep in mind as well that this is a meta of some very hard-hitting, long alphas. And I mean, the Archangel, although I'm sure you're going to see it everywhere, it's going to be hit in the face with some, Malvin and Mayhems and stuff like that. And it's going to still die. So I think it's where it needs to be because before, like you said, Mark, it was pillow-fisted and not doing what a massive dragon should be.
Exactly. Well, we'll see what Malvin and Mayhem can do against my double Archangel and Lightbringer Abbey one.
I don't know what you're talking about. There's nothing in our meta that threats far and hits hard.
Yeah. No, not at all. Not at all.
So rating this one, though, Mark, where do you feel it falls?
It's definitely in the top end of the changes that I've done for all the Legion CID. It's definitely, again, what it needed to be, like you're saying there. So I think they've done a really good job with it, and it's definitely a star in this list.
What do you think, Ian?
For Colossal not to have POW 21 on its as a base attack is gross. I didn't even realize that. I played against the Archangel enough times that I should have recognized this. POW 21 just seems like it is exactly what it should have had at the beginning. Mm-hmm. So no, I really like this change. I really like the rate of fire 3 standard. On a POW effective 16 with Draconic Aura. Am I right on that?
Yes.
Okay. Yeah. I like that a lot.
Mm-hmm.
Perfect. What we got next, Mark?
Next comes up one of my probably hands down one of 2 favorite war beasts in the game. That'd be our flying ninja dragon Zuriel. He's always been kind of a point of contention because he is pretty expensive. And he doesn't hit nearly as hard as he should. And during the CID, they said, hey, well, let's fix both of those problems. So he was previously 18 points. And so he did get a 1-point reduction. So he's down to 17. So he's competing with the Carnivian and the Scythian in that kind of point range. And his weapons as well got a 1 point in power. So now they're a power 6 and puts him up to a PNS 17. So it's pretty good.
And so, yeah, Zero is the one that's the character one with Rias, right?
Yes.
Okay.
Well, yeah. Character both, right?
Yeah, for both of them.
Mm-hmm. So, yeah, he goes up to a 17. He has Assault, Dual Attack, and Quick Work. But one of the cool things that...
He lost Quick Work, and he gained Dual Attack and Kill Shot.
Oh, they switched that. Sorry, that's what it was.
Yeah, I think this is way stronger. I've been following Zuriel quite closely, actually. Because I love the model, and I have a past Legion player that played with this, and we talked to Zuriel to death the other day. Keep going, Mark. I'll put my 2 cents in later.
No worries, buddy. I think the changes they've done to Zuriel is huge. Dual attack is perfectly amazing. It was a little frustrating when I was playing with him in the day, where you'd go in, kill something, and then be like, I have this great spray that I can't do because I'm still engaged. Crap. But now you can just kind of do with anything you want. With Kill Shot and Quick Work, I think... Kill Shot opposed to Quick Work, I think that it's going to be pretty good. You're definitely going to be seeing him a lot. He still doesn't hit as hard as certain combinations, but I think he's pretty good. You can definitely use a little bit more 11, but they're definitely going in the right way with him.
Ian, what were your thoughts? You said you want to add at the end here.
I think that he is going to be very, very prevalent in most metas. Any Legion player that can take Zuriel in their particular list, like the Thags list, he's going to be even more dangerous. And as I understand from other Legion players, that when you have Typhon and you have Zuriel and you have Azrael, Zuriel is usually the last one that you would pull back. Except now he actually will be probably one of the first ones you pull back because of the improvements. Dual attack and kill shot are unbelievably strong, and precision strike. I've used precision strike through Lock and Warjack in Battle Group, and that's a really, really strong spell. Mm-hmm. And I just looking at the combo strike at POW 21. Whoa!
And that's base 21, right? Not including any sort of damage modifiers.
Yeah,
So on most targets, you're going to be looking probably power 23 plus.
Yeah, and you don't have to boost the charge attack because you're already mat 8. Yeah, that's really nice.
Yeah.
So we're liking where this one ended up then?
Definitely going in the right direction. I think it could probably use something a little bit more as far as the melee output, but I think it's definitely a good change.
I think I might have been wrong about the Angelius getting the most amount of buff. I think Zuriel is actually the one that received the most amount of changes and the one that I like the most.
Mm-hmm.
Perfect. What we got next there, Mark?
Next is our little trio of magic casters, the Blackfrost Shard. Not a huge change for them overall. They did have disbinding as an ability on them, and that got changed to unbinding. I know it's just a couple letters, but it's definitely a big change. So before it only affected themselves, they could remove an upkeep on their unit, but now they can just remove anything on anybody.
Yeah, that's really important.
Yeah, it's definitely big. So it's within 5 inches. Eilish 1 has this ability. So does Amok. Within 5 inches, it removes enemy upkeep on a model or unit, and whoever cast the spell is going to take D3 points of damage. Severin, the leader, has it. So it's not like each of the one can do it, but the change is pretty big.
And what's the points for the unit now?
Now they are, I believe it's 5 or 9 points.
9 points.
Still 9 points.
Yeah.
Kind of pricey.
They are. They're not something you see very often. Again, I think they're okay. They're probably priced a little high, but for what they do and what you get, I think it's okay.
I mean, it's another magic unit for Bethane, so there's that. But I know, like in Mark 2, you saw them all the time, but in Mark 3, I've seen them very, very little. Do they still have the ability where they gain the +2 damage spell? Is that still there?
Yeah, Kiss of Lilith.
Okay,
yeah,
good.
It's kind of what they were usually taken for, right?
They look like they kind of like they compete for a spot with witches, don't they?
Yeah, basically, they're a little bit more expensive, and they have actually a damage output ability. Like they have power 9 weapon masters. So but the witches are 7 points, and they're straight spellcaster and more defensive than anything.
Okay. Actually, I think between the mixture there, between the damage and also the unbinding, I like it. I think that's a really good spot to be at 9 points and having both those abilities.
Mm-hmm. Sure enough.
So I'm liking it, Mark. Are you thinking it's right too?
Yeah, I think that's a good point. When you take all their other abilities plus the unbinding, I think it's pretty solid.
Ian?
Yeah, I mean, with Combat Caster and Battle Wizard, I think that there's a lot there's a ton of potential to get them in the right position. They'll be worth their points.
All right, what we got next, Mark?
Next is probably one of the bigger changes. Not one of the more fantastic ones, but definitely one of the bigger ones. And that's with Krissa, the Battlebox caster. She gained an ability called Total Obedience, and that's in her command range. Warrior models gain Tough. So that was a huge change for her overall. And then this week in the CID, they changed that just slightly, where it's non-Warlock warrior models are getting Tough. So I don't know if people were basically shoving her down people's throats or whatnot, but it's a small adjustment. It's pretty simple. I wish she was better, in all honesty. She did get an ability, a spell change. She has one called Energizer now. So as you guys know what that does, it's a 2-inch, basically TK for your battle group.
For your Warjacks, right?
Yeah, for her War Beasts.
Yeah. Isn't that what I heard? What it actually says in the spell is for Warjacks, though. So for her, it's not going to do anything.
No, it says each model in the spellcaster's battle group.
Okay, good.
Yeah. Previously, she had a spell called Quickness. It was really goofy, and it only affected her. She could spend up to 3 and move 2 inches for each Fury point, so she could get around really quickly. But it wasn't something that was any good. So I think this change is pretty substantial for her.
Now, one thing, though, just because she's the Battle Box caster, isn't it a little weird to give her ability that you can't use with the Battle Box?
What, her feet? Or, sorry, the Total Obedience?
Yeah, well, the whole Tough thing for your warrior models that you don't have.
Yeah, it's a little.
That is
odd.
pretty weird.
Maybe they didn't think that one too well.
So I don't think I like that. I mean, especially when you're wanting to introduce people to Legion, and you're like, hey, here's this caster. You don't want to start things off with, and we have rules that don't matter. So maybe change it to something that does stuff to your warjacks or anything, really.
Or put it back on your warcaster.
Yeah, give it to the warcaster. She doesn't really have a lot that benefits troops overall, specifically. So I think, what?
Cloak of Ash?
Well, it's not just a warrior model. You can give it to anything, right?
Yeah. I mean, it benefits units.
It does. Tax Supremacy does.
And Tax Supremacy does. So 3 of her spells all work for units. So I think I look at her and I'm like, yeah, it'd be pretty good with some hard-hitting infantry, but she has no threat extender. None.
Well, not for units, no.
No.
I don't know. I've always thought she's more of a war beast caster. She did want to be in that kind of awesome Children of the Dragon area, in my opinion. And now I think with the changes that she got with the tough, I think she can do it. Because definitely swordsmen love that. Some sweet Cloak of Ash.
And
yeah, I think my end vote for this one's going to be I don't like where it ended up. I think because it's the battle box one, they went the wrong direction. So maybe the right direction in general to make her more interesting, but because of what she's actually found in, I don't like this one.
Yeah, that's fair.
But you guys like or no?
I definitely like the changes they've done to her. The argument for being in the battle box, in my opinion, is kind of here nor there. But she's still a cool caster, and I think she's got a lot of fun things you can do with her. She's fairly straightforward, so I think it's good changes.
Ian?
Looking at her as a caster in general, I agree 100% with Brian. You shouldn't, if you have a battle box caster that you're learning how to play with, you need to have every single rule relevant to your caster. And I think that Total Obedience needs to include her as well. Being tough, a 5+ when she's on one box, it's, come on, like, just give it to her. Mm-hmm. Above and beyond that, I think she's good. I think she's right in that baseline. I don't think she's anything past that.
All right, here's the fix, guys. It changes, so now you get tough on your war beasts.
Done.
So they die, you roll, and then you can get one more box back in whatever column you want.
All 3, like old school respawn.
Hey, yeah, 100%. There you
go. Reconstruct.
There you go.
All right, Mark, what's next?
Next up is my boy. Probably my favorite war beast out of all of them, like I said, Azrael. Not a huge change for him over the CID as a whole. He was super overcosted at 21 points before, but again, he's probably the hardest hitting thing, or one of the hardest hitting things in the game at ranged for not being a colossal. So now they dropped him down to 19 points, which I think is pretty damn good. It was a 2-point drop.
Oh, so just a point change, that's it?
Yeah, nothing too exciting with him. So the changes were but I think he's definitely more so where he should have been to begin with.
But how strong is that spear he's throwing again?
Well, the base power is 17. But when you run him with things like Thagrosh 1 or Yabby 2, that goes up to a 19.
He's pretty good. Like, I don't know, like, we kind of still already saw him before, but...
Give him puppet strings and boost for that crit smite on the spear.
Well, that's exactly it.
Yeah.
That's how I used to use them before. Now, with the changes from Krissa, though, her feat puts him at a power 20, which is pretty damn good.
Plus, he'll have tough.
Yeah, that's right. Good stuff. He does have that little threat booster, which is nice with Energizer now. But I've always ever used him as a gun platform.
Yeah.
So you'll see him with like Liliths or, I guess with either of the Thagoroshes too, just for the straight damage output.
Wait, I thought he had assault.
No.
Oh, okay.
Zuriel's the one who used to have assault.
Oh, okay.
That'd be funny. Yeah. He would charge in, hit something with his spear, and then slam it away so he can't make attacks.
That's right. I'll show you.
I don't know. I mean, he was there before, and I always thought that he was too... Like, I hate the fact that his spear is so strong. And I know that's a silly thing in a fantasy world, but he was good before and doing lots of work. So I don't know if he really needed the point decrease, but I don't know. Ian, what do you think?
I firmly believe that Legion War Beasts have a real issue with their points cost and them decreasing to make it more fair and more competitive against other people's A+++ units and War Beasts. I think it's appropriate, and you know what, I'd be okay and throw them a bone and give them another point decrease down to 18.
Yeah, that'd be huge. Yeah. Can you imagine going from 18 or 21 down to 18? Oh my god.
Oh, I thought he was 20 down to 19.
No. He's 21 down to 19.
Oh, okay.
But I mean, like, if you were to staple 2 hunters together, so that's 20 points, this guy's better than that.
Well, as he should be. He's also a character.
Everybody's entitled to have a nice thing. And I think this is one of their nice things that they're allowed to have.
All right.
Legion character beasts, in my opinion, have always been absolute gold. And I think that having their regular beasts kind of a meh, I think makes up for it.
All right, well, we'll see where he figures out. So you guys figure he's about where he should be. I think this is one where he's a little bit too good. But, Mark, what do we got next?
Next up here, we've got Kralix. And it's probably, again, not a huge change, but definitely a good one. So Kralix was a 6-point solo previously, and now they've dropped him down to 5. So it's a pretty good change. Other than that, I don't really see anything that's too different off of him. So it's a good change. Now, again, the same argument happened that you might not need to use a rec point to use him, considering you've got unit attachments that are 6 points, or even full units like Hellmounts that are 6 points. You can be taken for free.
Ian, any thoughts on this one? I'm going to have a whole meh around this one.
If it's just a flat point decrease, all right. Again, I think that one of the biggest issues for Legion is the fact that their points were so high, and any little granular changes that add up to a sum of an extra solo or the changing of one beast for another beast for more effectiveness, I'm okay with that.
All right, let's move to another one then.
That's all we got, honestly.
Oh, we got a Celia.
Oh, I don't have her on here.
Oh, I will cover this one then. I am not a Legion player, but I will act like one at the moment. All right, we got a Celia, which is the Riot Quest solo. Speed 6, Strength 5, Mat 4, Rack 4, Defense 14, Arm 11, Command 7. 5 points, 5 damage. Another source of Puppet Master for Legion. Shatterstorm, which is range 6, target friendly faction model or unit, and they gain Detonator for 1 turn. So when they box an enemy model with a melee ranged attack that center 3-inch AoE based on the model, it's Explosivo, which is really good. Any kind of RFP is going to help out immensely. Toxic Blizzard, which is, I love the name of it, is a range 10 AoE 4 magic attack, and models suffer a POW 10 cold damage roll and the corrosion continuous effect.
I think that's the big one for her.
Yeah, more anti-infantry stuff. Unleash the Arcane is a once per turn ability. When this model hits an enemy with a magic ability, immediately after the magic is resolved, you can do an additional magic ability. So if you throw out a Toxic Blizzard, which she's magic ability 8, I should mention that. Yep. Toxic Blizzard something, then Puppet Master a friend, or Shatterstorm archers, or so on and so forth.
So sorry, if she does a magic ability to something and then hits something within a magic ability, she gets to do something else? Is that what you're saying?
Correct. It has to hit an enemy with a magic ability, and then she can cast a second magic ability.
Oh, that's okay.
Yeah, so I've played a few games with her now, and I think that this Toxic Blizzard, just based on the way I've been playing her, is going to be huge. Shatterstorm, I think, could be really good, especially with things like the archers like we were talking about previously. Again, just to carpet bomb the world.
Explosivo is a super clutch ability. That is super toolboxy for numerous reasons.
I think she's cool, but I don't think she's too good. I think she's nice if you've got the option for her, but I don't think she's going to be a staple in a lot of lists.
I mean, can't she just like walk up and basically erase an entire unit to infantry?
If they're, not high armor, then yes.
I mean, that seems pretty dang good.
Corrosion continuous effect if it hits.
Yeah, with a 4-inch AoE. So yeah, she could potentially delete an entire unit on her own.
I mean, she seems really good to me. It all kind of goes with this whole privateer press, I hate infantry thing lately.
I think she's really good for a particular meta. I think if your meta leans one way, then she will absolutely be a toolbox that you put into the list, and removing something that isn't meta defining.
Mm-hmm. That's fair. Like yesterday, I used her in a game against a local minion player, Sean Wild, and he was running that lovely Maylock list. She just kind of stood there going, well, I guess I'm making everything corroded because I'm not doing anything else.
You have to have more sheets there, Mark, because after her is Bethane.
No, I do. It was just, it glitched out for me here. I've got her back.
Oh, okay.
So before we get to Bethane, so this one, I'm thinking it's a little bit high, because what's the point cost for this one again?
She's only a 5. Yeah, she's just a standard solo. But I think for a 5-point solo, that's a lot of toolbox. I mean, 5 points for a Puppet Master, I mean, and nukes and utility, you're looking at Eilish, but even a little bit better.
Yeah, I'd agree.
I mean, I would argue it should be more like 6 points here, but I guess it's a useless point because it's going to be free probably regardless.
Exactly.
Yeah.
All right, let's talk about this new crazy Bethane.
Bethane 2, I'm having a lot of fun with her. I think she's absolutely beautiful sculpt. I know a lot of people don't like the big, angry slug dragon kind of look, but I don't care. Doug, you're doing a great job. Keep it up.
One thing we might want to just do here, as we teased our listeners, we're already past an hour. Do we want to cut this as now we've covered the Riot Quest and old models, and then in the next podcast talk about all the new stuff?
Oh, that might be a good idea there, Brian.
Oh, that might be an interesting.
Look at the brain on this guy.
Big brain on Brian.
All right, listeners. So if you want to hear the thrilling conclusion to what's new in Legion, you're going to have to listen to episode 32. We like to keep these ones reasonable, and we're already like an hour and a quarter. So we'll cut this one off here because, I mean, my kids are also about to barge in the room any second here. So thanks for listening. I'm Brian.
I'm Mark.
I'm Ian.
And we'll catch you next time.
See ya.
Have a good one, guys.